Hello, welcome back to our Sporcle History playlist. We are jumping back in here with U.S. history by decade, 1 year earlier, speed dating, leap day by year, and Titanic survivors. Maybe. Um, yeah, we're one off because our last one went too long. If we go very quickly, we could get into U.S. Statehood Scramble. That would catch us up to this untimely deaths. This is a long playlist, though, so we're just going to go until we get to around 30 minutes. Can you pick the decade by events? I'm going to guess probably yes, for the most part. The Stamp Act, the Townsend Acts, the Non-Importation Agreements, Pontiac's Rebellion, the Proclamation Act. I believe this was all the 1760s. Washington Naval Conference, Return to Normalcy, Scope's Monkey Trial, Sacco and Vanzetti, and the Immigration Quota Act. It was either the 1910s or 20s, I think. Return to normalcy, or maybe that was the 30s. That was wasn't that Hoover, or maybe that was Calvin Coolidge, right? Whose whole thing was returning to normalcy. So I think that is the 20s, but we'll hold off on that as well. Triple Wall of Privilege. He kept us out of war. Reservationists. Federal Trade Commission. 17th Amendment. Espionage and Sedition Acts. 17th Amendment would be after all of the early Reconstruction amendments, so we're in this time period. Espionage and Sedition Acts was either the 1900s or 1890s, maybe the 1910s, maybe that was World War One. I think Woodrow Wilson passed the Espionage and Sedition Act, so I think that would be the 1910s. We haven't clicked once yet. The McCarthy trials, the Montgomery bus boycott, Brown versus the Board of Education, this is all 1950s. The Square Deal, the Roosevelt Corollary, the Anthracite Coal Strike, Gentleman's Agreement, the Northern Securities Case, the Roosevelt Corollary to the Monroe Doctrine would be when Roosevelt was president in the 1900s. Teddy Roosevelt, specifically. Manifest Destiny, Seneca Falls Convention, 54-48, or Fight, the Mexican-American War, Wilmot Proviso, and the Free Soil Party. That was a packed decade. That was all in the 1840s. The XYZ Affair, the Alien and Sedition Acts, the First Bank of the United States, Jay Treaty, Whiskey Rebellion. This is all the 1800s, because this is all when John Adams is president, right? Yes. No, it was the 1790s! Fuck! Hold on. When was John Adams 1797 to 1801? I think he was. I think I had the right president. I just didn't stop and think long enough to figure out when he was president. I hate everything. I'm the dumbest motherfucker who has ever lived. The Corrupt Bargain, the Missouri Compromise, the Monroe Doctrine, the South Carolina Exposition and Protest, and the Tariff of Abominations. I want to say that's the 20s or 30s. Kansas-Nebraska Act, Austin Manifesto, Opening of Japan by Commodore Perry, Dred Scott, and the Know Nothing Party. That's either the 1850s, 60s, or 70s. It's the 1850s, I think, because the Kansas-Nebraska Act, doesn't that have to do with slavery? So that has to be pre-Civil War. Thank God. Plessy v. Ferguson, New Immigration, Homestead and Pullman Strike, Spanish-American War, the Sherman Antitrust Act, that's the 1890s. Reaganomics, Iran-Contra, 1980s. Tilden Hayes election controversy, Great Railroad Strike, sharecropping. This would be post-Civil War, so 1870s, 80s. The My Lai Massacre, Kent State shootings, Watergate, and Détente were all in the 70s. The Persian Gulf War, the fall of the Soviet Union, and the Clinton impeachment in the 1990s. 14th Amendment, Antietam, Emancipation Proclamation, the Homestead Act, the Moral Land Grant Act, the Freedmen's Bureau, and the Redeemers, all the 1860s. Louisiana Purchase, that's the 1800s. I cannot believe I messed up the XYZ Affair and the Alien and Sedition Act. Marbury versus Madison, Lewis and Clark, Embargo Act, Impressment. If I just stop to think about it for 5 seconds. MLK assassinated, Gulf of Tonkin. I'm so sad, dude. Era of Good Feelings, American System, Erie Canal begun, Adams-Onis Treaty, McCulloch v. Maryland. I think that's the 1810s, but it might be the 1820s. The Marshall Plan, NATO, that's the 50s/the 40s, excuse me. It's like right at the end of, right after World War II ended. The Battle of Saratoga, the Intolerable Acts, the Gatsby Affair, Common Sense, Declaration of Independence would be the 1770s, the Gag Rule, Bank War, Nullification Controversy, Second Great Awakening, Nat Turner's Rebellion. Somewhere in here, I think. 9/11. National Labor Relations, Agricultural Adjustment, Share the Wealth, Cash and Carry, Social Security Act, all part of the New Deal. Our GOAT, FDR. The Pendleton Act, the Chinese Exclusion Act, Mugwumps, Haymarket Square Riot, Interstate Commerce Commission created, would be the 1880s. The Northwest Ordinance, the Constitutional Convention, Shays Rebellion, Three-Fifths Compromise, Articles of Confederation would be the 80s, 1780s. And we're back here. Stamp Act is the 1760s. The Return to Normalcy and the Scopes Monkey Trials were the 20s. The Espionage and Sedition Acts were the 1910s. The Corrupt Bargain and the Missouri Compromise were the 1820s or 30s still. I don't remember. Missouri Compromise was the one was about slavery, and it was like everyone north of every state that is entered into the Union north of the southern Missouri border is going to be a free state. Every state entered into the Union south of the southern Missouri border is going to be a slave state. Arkansas, the state I'm from, was eventually admitted under that, I believe, in like 1836, but I don't know if it was signed in the 20s or the 30s. The Monroe Doctrine. Hold on. Tilden Hayes controversy was the 1870s. The Era of Good Feelings was the 1810s. The Gag Rule, the Bank War, the Second Great Awakening. So we haven't narrowed down to back to back. I think hold on. Washington, Adams, Jefferson, Madison, Monroe. This is the fifth president of the U.S. Jefferson was 1800 to 1808, or really 1801 to 1809. Then Madison was 1809 to 1817. Monroe was 1818 to either 1820. Wait, no, sorry. Anyway, this is the 20s. I lost, my brain shut down while I was trying to explain that. But Madison was 1809 to 1817. Monroe was 1817 to either 1821 or 1825. I think he served 2 terms, so I think it was through 1825, which means it was not in the 1830s. Even though the Monroe Doctrine it was named after Monroe because he was president, but I believe John Quincy Adams, the Secretary of State, later president, was the one who actually wrote it up. It also didn't, people talk about the Monroe Doctrine. The Monroe Doctrine really didn't come into effect. I mean, not come into effect, but it wasn't something that actually really meant anything until almost 100 years later. By the turn of the century, the early 1900s, when the U.S. was actually capable of enforcing it. After World War I really is. Because in the 1830s, no European power was going to be oh no, the U.S. says we can't fuck around in South America. Whatever are we going to do? They were just okay, how about you actually do something about it, pussy? If this had happened 1 year earlier, it would have been Henry III who was forced to acknowledge liberties in the Magna Carta. Hold on, what is this quiz? 1 year earlier. Oh no. This is going to be super hard. Okay. Yuri Gagarin wouldn't have been first, so that's going to be what's his name, the astronaut. Where is he? MLB strike. No. Alan Shepard's first space flight. Yes. If this had happened 1 year earlier, it would have featured the Buffalo Bills and the Green Bay Packers. This would be the first Super Bowl. Okay, so William IV died. Yes. And Victoria must have only been 17, 15, 14, whatever 1 year too young. Or she, in real life, she had just turned whatever age they needed her to be to actually take command. If this happened 1 year earlier, the decision on whether to go to war in Afghanistan would have fallen to Bill Clinton. They could have broadcast images of the Great Mississippi Flood of 1927, probably something about the first television. The Blue Jays would not have repeated as world champs. Did the Blue Jays ever repeat as world champs? This must be the MLB strike. I didn't know. I didn't think that actually happened. I thought they only won one, but whatever. The decision on whether to use the weapon would have fallen to FDR. That would be the atomic bombs. I'm not a fan of this quiz, to be honest with you. It's kind of easy and also just like weirdly clunky. We would never have had the Bell Telephone Company. Would this be like a trust busting thing? Desert Storm, release of Network, Please Please Me, Richard Nixon's. Okay, actually, I don't know what's happening here. Margaret Thatcher and not John Major would have made the decision to commit British ground forces. So would this be? Oh, I bet this was the Bell telephone one instead of Alexander Graham Bell. What? Oh, Operation Desert Storm. Okay. It would have come before the Treaty of Brussels while France and the Holy Roman Empire were still at war. The death of King John, or 95 Theses. The temperature would have been 51 Fahrenheit, and the O-rings would have held. I believe it's either the Space Shuttle Challenger launch or the Apollo module explosion. I think it's the Space Shuttle Challenger launch, because O-rings, I believe, was what caused that, but we'll come back to that. It would have been authorized by Fumimaro Kono and not by Hideki Tojo. Was this Pearl Harbor? Yes. Hannibal Hamlin would have become president of the United States, Abraham Lincoln's assassination, because Lincoln changed vice presidents from Hannibal Hamlin to Andrew Johnson in 1864. If this happened 1 year earlier, Carl Benz might not have died of a bronchial infection. Penicillin might have been signed into law by by John F. Kennedy. That would be civil rights. Peter Finch would have been alive to accept his Oscar. That would be network. Neil Armstrong would have been telling Houston they have a problem. Must be the explosion aboard Apollo. It would have had to compete with Gone with the Wind for Best Picture. It would not have had to release or compete with Gone with the Wind. That would be Wizard of Oz. Pete Best would have been the drummer. For the Beatles, because he was their drummer before Ringo Starr. Charles Barkley might have won an NBA championship if Jordan had retired earlier. It might have been known as Y1K39S? Y1K39s? So yeah, year 1000, whatever. If this had happened 1 year earlier, Spiro Agnew would have become president. That would be Nixon's resignation. Abe Fortas would not have been on the bench, and the police might not have been required to read your rights. That'd be the Miranda rights. Henry III would have been forced to sign the Magna Carta instead of King John. This would be Elijah Gray's patent. This would be the 95 Theses, and this would be the Space Shuttle Challenger launch. That was a pretty shit quiz. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna give that 2 stars. How on earth does that have a 4? People on Sporcle are way too generous, which, like, I understand. They want to be rude. Everyone's just, this is like a hobbyist website. Everyone here's doing it because they love doing this. But, like, everyone's like, oh, I knew the answers to this quiz. 5 stars. That's not how you should rate these. Washington becomes president in 1788, I believe. 1789. Because the election would have been in 88, and then he took office in 89. His first Super Bowl was played in, like, 67, 66. There's 2 in 67. Okay. Munich Pact brings peace in our time. LOL at Neville Chamberlain. That would be 36 or 38. I can't remember. Spanish Civil War begins in 36, so it was 38. Let's go back. U.S. Civil War ends in 1865. Why am I having such a hard time navigating this timeline? Gone with the Wind was released in 1939. Babe Ruth hit 60 home runs, probably around here. Hitler dies, end of World War II. That's not true. The Pacific Theater didn't end for another 3 months. The first Sporcle quiz is posted. Probably 08 or 07, but I don't know. JFK. These quizzes get really repetitive. Nixon resigns. Simpsons debuts. Want to say like 89. U.S. invades Iraq without UN approval. We got UN approval in 91, but not in 2003. Gandhi is assassinated. Fuck. I think it's 48, because wasn't it like as India was founded? Salk polio vaccine was introduced. I believe that was maybe 53. The 6-Day War was also around here somewhere. I get all the Israel wars mixed up in my head. I don't remember when each one was. Obama was elected in 08. Alaska and Hawaii become states in 1955. Oh no, it's 59! Ah! Again, I'm just going too fast on that one. The first Star Wars movie is 77. The most recent Star Wars movie is 2019. The U.S. invades Iraq with UN approval. Israel is founded. Roman Empire falls in the West. Oh, I thought it was 452. It's 476. Okay. I mean, lucky that there was only one option back there. Titanic was 1997. Titanic sinks is 1912. The Beatles break up is 1970. The Olympics are held in Atlanta in 96. Churchill becomes prime minister for the first time would be 1940. Stalin died in 53, I believe. Vichy France was installed after the fall of France in 1940. London fire was 1803, I think. Mark McGuire hits 60 home runs, or 70, excuse me. That would be maybe 98. U.S. buys Louisiana from France. That would be 1803. Vesuvius buries Pompeii in 79. Uruguay hosts and wins the World Cup 1930. Mussolini takes power in Italy. It's either 22 or 27. I think it's probably 20. Fuck, I don't know. Kyrgyzstan declares independence from the USSR in 1991. The US declares independence in 1976. Follow the Berlin Wall. Now we've looped back around. First Sporcle quiz must have been 07. The polio vaccine must have been 55 because 59 was Alaska and Hawaii. Plus, my dad got the polio. Oh shit, we're running out of time. This is 67. This is 1666. This is 98. This is 20. God damn it. 95%. The Alaska-Hawaii one, I'm upset about. I'm not upset about the Mussolini one, because I just didn't know. I had it narrowed down to 2, and I chose incorrectly. We'll go leap day by year. Can you match each leap day event with the year in which it happened? I honestly have no idea. These years are pretty spread apart. Maybe. Sarah and Tituba were accused of witchcraft in Salem, Massachusetts. 1692. The invasion of the Admiralty Islands began with Operation Brewer. U.S. General Douglas MacArthur led his forces onto Los Negros. That would be the Pacific Theater of World War II, so that would be 1944. The first Playboy Club featuring waitresses clad in bunny outfits opened in Chicago. No idea. Maybe either 60 or 40. I think it's 40, because I think Playboy was a thing in the 50s, wasn't it? President Theodore Roosevelt appointed a 7-member commission to hasten completion of the Panama Canal. The only year in which he was president. Gordie Howe secured the 800th goal of his career. That would be 2004, I assume, but I'm going to hold off. Wait, no, Gordie Howe. Sorry, I was thinking of... Timeout. I was thinking of, what's his name? Wayne Gretzky. Gordie Howe was way further back. I'm glad I didn't click. Hostility in the Russo-Turkish War ceased. Is that the Crimean War? Is that what they're calling the Russo-Turkish War? I've never heard of the Russo-Turkish War. I know they've had conflict, obviously, over the centuries. Jean Bertrand, or I don't know, Turkish would be post-World War I, right? So, I don't know. Jean Bertrand Aristide resigned as president of Haiti following popular rebel uprising. It's one of these. Assuming this is the Haitian Revolution, this might be something else. President Washington proclaimed Jay's Treaty in effect and settled some outstanding differences with Great Britain. Again, it's one of those two. The first leap day was recognized by proclamation of Julius Caesar. All right. Christopher Columbus, stranded in Jamaica during his 4th voyage to the West, used a correctly predicted lunar eclipse to frighten hostile natives to provide food for his crew. That would be 1504. Gone with the Wind won 8 Oscars in 1940. Tokyo Skytree Tower was completed as the tallest tower in the world. I want to say that was 1960. No, it must have been 68. I recently read the Tokyo Tower Wikipedia page, which is the only reason I even was brave enough to guess that, but I guess I'm just a dummy. And by recently, I mean like a month and a half, 2 months ago. Rossini was born in Italy. No idea. Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band won Tower Up Album of the Year. Well, that was 1968. So I guess Tokyo Tower is actually 72, maybe even 80. I'm just dumb. Hank Aaron becomes the first baseball player to sign a baseball contract for $200,000 a year. I did not realize, and that has to be 1960, right? What? They were getting paid less than $200,000 a year in 1972? Scotland established this day as one when a woman could propose marriage to a man, and the meant that he refused, he was required to pay a fine. What the hell are you talking about? Okay, I guess. Gordie Howe scored his 800th goal, and I'm gonna actually lose it. No one. I mean, we beat the average. What on earth? 1288. Never, ever would have guessed that. I mean, this one. Okay, when was the? I must have been thinking of. Okay, the use of the word president probably should have been my clue there. I was thinking of the Haitian Revolution, which was in the 1790s. That's insane to me. I also thought he played way earlier. Didn't he? He played for like 20 freaking years, so I guess. Sure. Okay, I must not. I just saw Tokyo Tower and was thinking of Tokyo Tower, but the Tokyo Skytree Tower must be something else entirely. Hold on. Ah, that's like their Space Needle type thing. Okay, I was thinking of Tokyo Tower. Why would they have something called Tokyo Skytree? This is more like their. It's kind of like the Eiffel Tower, only it's not. You know what I mean? I'm upset. I'm upset. I'm bigly upset. Titanic survivors. Can you pick the passenger and crew that survived the sinking of the Titanic? I'm gonna keep it real with you. No, I can't. All I know is like unsinkable. What's her name? I mean, I'll do it, but like, what is this? Where's her? I'm gonna find the one woman who I know, and then I'm out. Unsinkable Molly Brown. All right, I give up. All I care about is my girl Molly. Can you pick the states that achieved statehood in the 19th century? Whoa. Um, Alabama, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Florida, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky. Kentucky must have been the 1790s. Louisiana. When did Maine separate from Massachusetts? It was either the 1790s or the 1800s. Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana. Nebraska, North Dakota, South Dakota, Ohio. No, not Oklahoma. God damn it! I knew that. I was just clicking because I was so. Oklahoma was like 1911 or something like that. Oregon, West Virginia, Washington, Vermont. I think was the 1790s as well. Utah, Texas, Tennessee. That also must have been the 1790s. I'm so upset. Okay, we've got. Oh, that was all of them. Okay, Idaho. I wasn't 100% sure about. Maine. I wasn't 100% sure about. Nevada, because I knew some of them were the early 1900s, like Oklahoma, and I think Arizona was also the early 1900s. And maybe New Mexico as well. Alaska and Hawaii were obviously the 50s. Most of the other states on here, like Connecticut, Delaware, Georgia, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, South Carolina, Rhode Island, Pennsylvania, Vermont, Virginia, were all part of the original 13 colonies. Vermont was an independent country slash kind of still was a state, and then eventually they were like, okay, yeah, we'll just be a state. Kentucky and Tennessee very quickly broke off from Virginia and North Carolina, respectively, I believe, in the 1790s, but they were not part of the original 13 colonies. Same with Maine. Maine was part of Massachusetts until the 1800s. Like maybe even like the 1820s or 1830s. It was the early 1800s, somewhere in there. Idaho, I should have guessed. I was just scared. And then Nevada, I was worried might be in a similar boat to Arizona and New Mexico because it's just nothing but desert. But apparently it was. And that puts us at 26 minutes. What does the rest of this look like? There's 50. And we have we have 29. Let's do British history match, and then this will be the last one. Oh no. Okay. I remember this from my untimely deaths one, but that was like a week ago. I think it was 1812. Holy shit. He's gaming, even though it was just because I remembered it from last week. Oliver Twist is published. I'm gonna get, if I get 30, if I get a third, if I get 11 out of 33, I'm gonna be very happy. For the third time was 2012. Nope. I think this was like, I don't know. I don't know what that is. Richard the Lionheart captured on return from Crusades. That'd be like early. Magna Carta is 1215. Yes, the Battle of Hastings, 1066. The Battle of Trafalgar was during the Napoleonic Wars, so it has to be 1805. The coronation was 1953. The Black Plague arrives in... So the Black Plague was in the 1300s. I assume it arrived in England rather late because it spread from east to west and north and south to north, and England's an island. So it's either 48 or 81. I bet it's 81, but I'm going to wait. All right, I think we're going to comfortably hit 11. I might have to up it to like 15 or 16. So let's go 16. Let's try to get... Or 17. We'll try to get over half. Henry VIII initiates separation of the church from England from the Roman Catholic Church. That would be the early 1500s. Probably one of these two. Maybe 1485, I don't know. Thomas Becket is murdered, no idea. Great Fire of London, we just saw that. That was 1666, wasn't it? Beatles split up in 1970. England win in 1966. The gunpowder plot, I think, was 1755, but it might have been in the 1600s, so let's wait. Slavery was abolished in 1833. I'm confused because I know they abolished the trade of slaves before they abolished actual slavery. It has to be here somewhere because obviously it wasn't illegal in 1755 because in the US, unless they had a different rule for like colonies versus the home, but I don't know. We'll come back to this. The beginning of the 100 Years' War would have been here. Winston Churchill died in... He lived into the 60s? Are you serious? I did not know that. Charles I was the early mid-1600s, because it was James I, Charles I, Charles II, James II. Or maybe the other way around. But either way, it's the early 1600s. So I'm going to go with 1649. Okay. We're doing great. Battle of Bosworth effectively ends the War of the Roses. That would be the 1400s. Edward VIII abdicates. That's like 1930 something. 1936. Britain joins the EU. Would have been... I don't know when that was founded. Probably 73. Shakespeare is born. Must have been early 1500s. The NHS is formed. That would have been 70s, actually, I think. Or maybe that was right after World War II. Shit. William II is killed by an arrow? I have no idea. Cromwell dies. He was executed, wasn't he? So it'd be Go 58. He's a god. He cannot be stopped. 1859. The Falklands was the 80s. The peasants rule. So we've looped around. We've hit 17 just on our first pass through. I'm shocked. I mean, you know, some of these are kind of obvious. Oliver Twist is either 1833 or 1838. I don't feel comfortable enough to guess that. Great Plague, no idea. Don't know what that is. Don't know. It's one of these, but those are too close together. Black Plague has to be 13. No! Really? It must be 1348. I thought it hit Europe, like mainland Europe, around 1348. I didn't realize how early in the century it was. I thought it was later in the 1300s. This, I'm gonna guess, is... I'm gonna guess this is early. Yeah, because there has to be time for Elizabeth the First, who followed up Henry the Eighth, I believe. I don't know if she was... I think she was the very next. She might have been... There might have been one in between. And she was all... The Elizabethan era was all throughout the 1500s, so it's like... We had to give her time to do her thing. Thomas Becket was murdered. No idea. Gunpowder plot. It's either 1755 or 1665. Slavery was abolished in 1830. Wait, what did I guess that was wrong? Oh, that was the Black Plague one. Okay. Britain joins that's not the EU, that's the European Economic Community. Shakespeare must have been born in 1545. Really? The NHS was founded... I'm going to guess the NHS was founded right after World War II. Which means this must be the European Economic Community. And now we've got... this must be Oliver Twist. The Great Plague of London. No idea. Where's, this? Remember the 5th of November. I think this was around Oliver Cromwell's time, because there was lots of turmoil in England. So I'm going to go 1665. God, I hate everything. William II, killed by an arrow. So William I was 1066, so I bet the next guy was William II. Peasants' Revolt. 1665. Son of a bitch. The Great Plague of London. 1665. Okay. Dr. Johnson's first dictionary is published. 1605. Lady Jane Grey reigns for 9 days. 1605. The Sinking of the Mary Rose. 1605. Richard the Lionheart returns from the Crusades. 1192. Thomas Becket is murdered in 1605, by the way. Okay. Thomas Becket? I did not realize he was that old. Okay. 1170. I was one off, as in like one guess off, obviously not 1 year off, on the Black Plague. Peasants' Revolt. Don't know what that is. Sure. I cannot believe... So Elizabeth must also be... maybe they were both like... I thought they were both early 1500s to mid 1500s. They must be both like late 1500s, early 1600s. In terms of when they were at their peak. The gunpowder plot... Okay, it was actually even older than I thought. And then the first dictionary. Alright, you know, I can't believe we got 76%, considering the first, like, 10 guesses. I was like, I don't know what any of this is. The hardest one we got was 1812. I don't even remember. Why don't they show what the answers pair were? This wasn't Trafalgar, because Trafalgar was 1805. What was 1812? I don't even remember now. But it was something we would have gotten early on, because I know when we were trying to do the slavery one early on, the earliest option in the 1800s was 1833. So this must have been something I thought was pretty obvious. Oh, that was when Spencer Percival, or whatever his name was killed, and so the only reason I knew that was because... never mind, that was not obvious. This one was... What was this one? 1337? I don't remember what that one was. And then the most gotten one that we didn't get... Okay, we managed to get all the ones on the left side. That's good. We got all of the ones over 50% of people got. Beat the average by 25%. Take that, Brits. 1605 was the gunpowder plot, so that makes sense. I feel like a lot of British people would know exactly when that was. That wraps it up for today's history video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, and if you're enjoying Sporcle content, let me know you want to see more. Leave comments, like the videos, subscribe, all that stuff. Because otherwise, maybe I'll be like, well, the Sporcle videos aren't doing as well stats-wise as some of my other videos, and I might eventually end the series. And no one wants that to happen. So do your part, and I'll see you guys again next time.